Welcome. In this video, we are still managing our extensions, and the extension which we are managing is still the module extension, and the module which we are going to be managing in this particular video is our image module. As usual, I need to make sure that my database and server are running so that I'll be able to have access to my website. So once I've confirmed that, I'll simply go to my website. Alright, this is my back end. I'll simply come to my front end. This is the module I'm talking about. This particular module here is called the image module, and the position which it is, so I go to my back end. It's actually not showing me any position, but it's actually occupying a particular position. Okay, I can actually get what position is occupying from my backend. But remember, this particular module is called image module. Alright, simply go back to my backend. As usual, I will close this. Okay, I'm back to where all my modules are. So I'll simply look for the module called image module. I have random image module, but it is not in any position. We're going to treat all these other modules later, but let's just focus on what we're looking for now. Image module. I'll simply keep scrolling down till I get image module. Okay, fine. This is the image module I'm looking for, and is in position 3. Alright, to modify it, I'll simply click on it. Once I click on it, as usual, it brings us here, and the first thing we're dealing with here is our detail. The status is published, the title is image module, and the show title is actually in hide. That is why it's not showing us the title in our front end. But you understand what this means by now, so we'll simply leave that. The position is occupying the top center position 3. This particular position is the top center position 3. You can actually change the position of this image module if you don't want it to occupy this particular position. You can change it to whatever position you want it to occupy. Let's say, for example, you want it to come to this particular position, which is position 7. You can actually relocate this to this position. But for now, I think we're good with it in this particular position, so we'll simply leave it there. Depends on you. You should be able to change positions of modules by now. Simply go back to my back end. I'll leave it as the position in the position which it is. My access, I'll leave it as public. Ordering, I'll leave it. Start publishing, finish publishing, language notes, I'll simply leave them the way they are. Now I'll go to my basic options. Prepare content, I'll just leave it the way it is. Yes. Select a background image. What this simply means is this particular module called the image module. If you want another image to be at the background, you can actually do that. But that image, for you to be able to see that image, that means the image will have to be bigger than this particular image which we have here. So going back to my back end, select the background image. Let's try to make an illustration of that. If I click on select, it will now take me to where I have my images in my Joomla. Hope you can remember this. I have my banners, I have headers, I have sample data, and some other images. Now, I hope you can remember how I uploaded this particular image from the beginning. I think it should be in the video titled Installing Joomla. No, rather not installing Joomla. It's in the video titled Template Managing Extensions Template Manager. Okay. Now I will actually click on select a background image. Let's assume I want a particular image to be at the background of the image module. Let me choose an image which is existing or which is already in Joomla. If I go to headers and I decide to choose this particular image, I click on this and then I click on insert and then I click on save. I'll simply now go to my front end to see what changes must have been done. Once I go to my front end and I refresh, okay, I'm actually not seeing any changes here because the image which I just placed to be at the background is actually the same size with this existing image. That is why I cannot see the image at the background. But if this particular image here is actually small, then I will be able to see the image at the background. Okay, so going back to my backend, I'll go back to my basic options. I will still leave this the way it is for now. It doesn't make any difference for now since I can't see it, but you can actually clear it later. But let's leave it for now. I will now go to my advanced options, alternative layout. Just as usual, you leave everything under advanced option the way they are. The module style, we can actually leave it as inherited, or we can change it to well, or we can make it no. I think it's best we leave it as inherited. It's okay the way it looks like in our front end, so there's no need changing anything, but it depends on you. As I said, go back to my backend and then I'll go to custom output. Now this custom output is appearing only in this particular module called image module. If you notice, you wouldn't come across custom output in other modules. Well, I'll simply go to my custom output. Fine. This is where I have the particular image which we have in our front end. You can actually change it. Let's say, for example, I want to change. If you look at the front end, this is the image which was actually chosen. Assuming we want to change this image now, all I need to do is click on it. Once I click on it, I will simply delete it and then bring another image in there. But for me to illustrate something which we did earlier, we actually placed an image in the background. Okay? Alright. And I said why we couldn't see the image is because this particular image which we have here is actually the same size with the background image. So what I'll simply do now is I'll try to resize this image to make it look smaller, or yes, I'll try to make it look, I'll try to reduce the width of the image and then save it and see what effect it will have in our front end. To do that, all I need to do is simply click an image. Once I click on the image, you'll see some little boxes at the edges. So once I take my mouse to this particular box here, it gives me this two-sided arrow. Once I'm there, I'll just simply hold down my left mouse and then drag the image inside just to reduce the width. Once I've done that, I will click on save. I'm only doing this to illustrate something. Once I click on save, I'll go back to my front end and then I'll refresh and then we watch what will happen here. You notice something? Yes, it has actually reduced this particular image and now we can actually see the image which we chose to be at our background. So you can actually have two images here, depending on which particular image you want. You might want the image of your something that has to do with your website to appear here, but that will be a lesson for another time because actually we've only uploaded one picture which was not in Joomla onto Joomla, and that was this logo. In subsequent videos you shall be learning how to upload pictures onto pictures that didn't come with Joomla, or your own particular pictures which you want onto your website or onto Joomla itself. Okay, if you're okay with this way, you can actually leave it like this, but I think I want to revert back to the way it was before. So I'll simply go back to my back end and then I'll go to basic options and then where I have select a background image, remember I selected an image. That's why we have the image here. I'll simply clear it because I don't want that background image. Depends on you, but I don't want it, so I'll clear it and I'll click on save. So I click on save. I'll go back to my front end. Remember, I actually resized this, but I've deleted this background. So if I refresh, I get this. The background goes, but this image has been resized, it has been made smaller. But now I want to take it back to how it was. So simply go back to my back end, and that was under custom output. Remember, you actually resized it by clicking here, and then you drag. Now I'm going to click again and then just drag it. Now I didn't take note of the original size, so it might not be exactly the way it was in the front end. It might look different. Once I take it back there and I click on save, if I go back to my front end and then I refresh, okay, look at what happened. Almost the same thing the way it was before. Okay, like I also said, you can actually change this particular image if you don't want, and change the image which you want. I'll go back to my administrator end and then I'll go to custom output. Assuming I want to change this image now, all I need to do is click on it and I'll click on delete on my keyboard, or perhaps I can right click and then I'll click on delete. Either way, like I said, you click on the image and then you click on delete on your keyboard, or you right click on the image and you click on delete. It deletes that particular image. If I leave it this way and I save, if I now go to my front end and I refresh, because I've deleted it, this will go. Once I refresh, notice it's gone because I deleted it from my back end. But I want a particular image to be there because at least your website should have some pictures. Right, so I'll simply go back to my back end. I'll go back to custom output. Now I've deleted it. So for me to upload an image here, I'll simply come to image and I'll click on image. It brings me to where I have all my images in Joomla. Okay, let's assume I want to put another different image. I go to banners, for example. I have some images here. I don't want to use any of this image, so for me to go back, I'll simply come and click up. Takes me back here. I go into headers. Let's assume this was the image that was actually there originally. Let's assume I want to use this image now. So all I need to do is just click on this image and I'll click on insert. It inserts it in here. Then I'll click on save. Once I click on save, once it's saved, I'll now go back to my home page and then refresh. Voila, the image has been changed to the image which I actually chose. Okay, like I said, you could have your own images that has to do with your website which you want to use. You'll be learning how to upload them onto Joomla, then you'll now be able to use them wherever you want to use them. Alright, going back to my backend and still under the module called the image module, I'm actually under custom output. There's a button here called article. We're going to be leaving that for now. Later on we'll get to the video that has to do with articles. That is, article simply means your write-ups, all these writings in your website. These are what you call articles. Okay, so back to my backend, we'll simply leave that for now. Okay, you could actually play around with these images. I hope you know that. Okay, now the last thing we'll be doing here is the menu assignment. As usual, once I click on menu assignment, the module assignment is that it should show this particular image module on all pages except those selected. If I go back to my home page, I want this module or this image to show. Okay, let's check first if it's actually showing in sample sites page. Okay, it's actually there in the sample site page. Okay, so I'll simply go back home. Let's say, for example, I don't want this image to show in my sample site page. All I need to do is give it that assignment or the menu assignment in my backend. Alright, if I go back to my backend just to illustrate what I just said now, what I will want to do now is I will click on this and then I will say module assignment only on the pages selected, or rather on all pages except those selected. Once I click on all pages except those selected, and then I click on the sample site page, it won't show it on my sample site page. That's what this simply means. It will show it on all pages, but those pages that have been selected it will not show. And like I said, I want to show on my sample site page. So I'll simply scroll down and look for my sample site page and then check it. Sample site page. Keep going down. Sample sites. Keep looking for sample sites. Okay, like I told you from a particular video earlier, all these Australian parks and fruit shops actually came with this particular um, templates, but we are not going to use them for our site, so we'll actually be deleting them much later. So even if it's checked, there's no, alright, just for the purpose of this lesson I will simply uncheck it because all I want to check right now is my sample sites. So I'll select this. I'll keep looking for my sample site. Menu site, login. Okay, I've seen it. Sample site. So once I click on sample site, I'll keep checking that. Okay, only sample site now will be highlighted. So I'll click on save. Once I click on save and I go back to my front end, this is my sample site page. So if I refresh it, because I've actually checked it, it will take it away. It won't show it in this particular sample site page. Alright, just to refresh it and see. Alright, it's gone. But if I go to my home page, it's there. Okay? Okay. Alright. Let's say I want it to show on all pages, on all the page. I want this particular image to show on all pages. You can actually have different images showing on different pages, but we'll get there in another video. But for now, I want it to go back. If I go to my sample site, I want the image to show. So I'll simply go back to my backend and then go to menu assignment. And then this time around, I'll simply, since I already have module assignment on all, I want it to show on all pages except those selected. And I actually selected the sample site. So I'll just simply go back down and deselect sample site, or I could just click on all pages instead. Let me just continue with this. I'll just deselect it and then I'll save. I'll go back to my front end, and that's still under my sample site. If I refresh, it will come back. Once you refresh, this image comes back and it's on all your pages. Okay, back to my back end. I think that's the last thing we'll be doing in this particular module called image module. I hope you actually understood it. Thank you. See you in the next video.